Greetings, friends, beloved children of God. Following the events of yesterday, maybe you found yourself like me, going to bed with a belly full of fear, anxiety twisting at our intestines. My own thoughts swirled all night with the images and videos of violence and terrorist attacks on our nation's capital. The chaos and destruction was downright disturbing to our souls. Our democracy, our beloved nation, built upon freedoms that we uphold and value as citizens of the United States, but most importantly, freedoms that we uphold as citizens of God's kingdom. Christian nationalism is not patriotism. Christian nationalism is not what we practice as followers of Jesus Christ. Christian nationalism is white supremacy. Christian nationalism is an ideology that promotes one race, one group of people who force others, those who look different and believe different, to live according to their own political and religious way of life. Our faith, our convictions, our love of God and love of neighbor calls us all as Christians who believe in these God-given freedoms to condone these violent acts that terrorize and try to destroy and deface our democracy. Fear. Fear has been crippling our minds for far too long. Hate has been restricting our hearts for far too long. Hate feeds on fear and will justify our opinions, our behaviors, our beliefs with self-righteous words and actions. Maybe you have been wrestling with hate for a while, hating those who have hurt you, those who have harmed your loved ones, those who may have held political views you detest. But we cannot keep hating family members, hating co-workers, hating protesters, hating presidents, hating politicians, and even hating those who try to tear down our democracy. Maybe you have been harboring hate for far too long. The season of Epiphany that we find ourselves in, the season we celebrate wise folks who came with generous hearts and generosity in their hands, they remind us to take a posture of humility rather than a position of hate. A posture that keeps us open to not only the position of others, particularly those that we love to hate, but a posture that does not condone violence, but speaks out against it with love. Love that does not turn people into villains or evil monsters or demonic souls. Love is the tension we are called to hold, a posture that stretches our hearts towards empathy, where we might remove the scales of our own hate, our self-righteous and even fear-filled lives, so that we might see the light in the other, see that they too are a loved child of God. Today, I invite you to choose love over fear. This year, I invite you to choose hope over hate. And yes, this not hating business is really hard work, and it won't happen overnight. You have to keep trying, even failing at times. But this is the real work of redemption, the work of letting go and letting God do what God does best: love. A good place to perhaps practice this posture of humility is on social media. Ooh. Social media has become a platform of unintended hate and hostility. But did you know that no one can change the mind of the other? Yep, that's right. No matter what you write on Facebook or tweet on the internet or share on Instagram, you will not change the mind of anyone. But what you can do is you can create space for the other to change their own minds. What if our convictions, our beliefs, our perspectives were shared in such a way that opened up dialogue, that held the tension, that didn't break relationships and didn't bully people? Maybe you're wondering, is this even possible? Maybe you're even thinking about the recent post full of those responses that you weren't expecting. And maybe you're just ready to give up altogether. I do wonder. I wonder, what if we are able to hold our convictions and yet still create space for others to hold their own convictions? Here are a few ways that I have found helpful in creating space for those who see the world differently from me. When it comes to social media, I invite you to use I language. Instead of pointing the finger at you and them and the others, what if you said, this is how I feel. This is my interpretation of this moment. This is how it is affecting me. What if you were even able to name your own bias and blind side? We all have our own bias. We all have our unique perspective in the world. And it comes with blind sides. We don't see everything all the time. And if we name our own bias, it might even allow people the freedom to name their own bias. And maybe we can even imagine ourselves and empathize with others by placing ourselves in their shoes. Don't assume. Don't assume you know the perspective, political position, or even opinions of others. Don't assume. Just ask them how they feel, how they're receiving information, how they're taking in the current climate. Do not assume we know what others are thinking. And last, repost. Don't delete. Repost. You may put something on Facebook today or yesterday or last year, and you may have changed your mind on it. Or you would have liked to rephrase it that was more open, that created more dialogue. Simply have courage to repost. Repost on your own post. Redeem your own words. It's okay to say, hey, I may not have gotten it all right in that moment of time. Or actually, I could have phrased that better. There's no shame in that, and there's certainly no guilt. I wonder what the world would look like if we all were courageous enough to repost even on our worst post. The bottom line is, keep trying, even if it means you fail at times. Keep holding the tension. This is the work of redemption, the work of holding what feels unbearable in order to stay in relationship with others, to stay in that tension of difference, to do the hard work of holding lightly and letting God do what God does best. Create space in our own hearts for more grace and more love.